Hi, welcome back to the Sounds Like Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Henne. I'm here with Marie Mosley, who is an aspiring author, speaker, and coach. She's a wife, mother, and grandmother. After becoming a mom at 14 years old, being in a toxic relationship for 25 years, going through an ugly divorce, and finding love again, Marie wants to help other women get to the light at the end of the tunnel. She spent over 20 years as an educator, inspiring and motivating not only the children she serviced, but colleagues, friends, and others to live their best lives. She's a former school counselor with a strong mental health background. Although she began her journey as a mom at the age of 14, she was determined to continue her education despite her situation. She did not allow her age or fear of the future to hold her back from becoming an educated, professional woman. Marie is known for persevering through some of the toughest issues women face. Marie deems herself a rose that grew from concrete because, with the help of God, whom she loves and adores, she consistently breaks through whatever hard situations life may bring. Marie was a caregiver to her lovely mother, and after her death, 2 days after sending her last child off to college, making her an empty nester, Marie decided to go after her dreams to become an author and help other women like herself heal and go after their dreams as well. Welcome, Marie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And and you mentioned that you live in New York. Now, is that where you were born and raised, or?
Yes, yes. I was born and raised in New York City in the South Bronx. And I moved for 3 years to Florida, but I ended up coming back.
Okay. All right.
hmm
So, can you tell us a little bit more about your story and your journey? I know we talked a little bit about things and touched on some things in your bio, but it sounds like
hmm
you've been through quite a journey and have so many things that you can share with us. Can you elaborate?
Uh, yeah, it has been a journey. Yeah, so like my bio said, well, this is one of the things that's not there. My dad passed away when I was 5 years old, and we ended up moving into what they call the projects. I don't know. I think every state has
Mm-hmm.
projects, right? So we end up moving into the projects, and that's where I spent all of my youth actually. That's where I spent most of my youth, and that's where I met my ex husband, and my first daughter was born there. The oldest one, she was born there, and yeah, it's after once I became a mother at 14, it kind of changed my mindset to a lot of things that most teenagers had to. Most teenagers got to hang out, have fun. They were just being teenagers, but I had to really think about not just me but my daughter. And even though my dad wasn't there, my mom was she was really, really stern and strong and very serious about education. So we already knew that we had to go to school and we had to get an education. So even though I had my daughter, it wasn't an option, which was probably one of the best things my mother could do for me by instilling that in me, because what it did was it made me say, regardless of the fact that I'm a mother, I'm going to get an education and figure this thing out. I did not want to be a statistic. Even at that age, I understood statistics. I understood, what happened to young girls coming from my neighborhood that decided to have a child at 14 years old. So I was determined to not let that happen to me.
It takes a lot of strength and a lot of support.
hmm
Sounds like
hmm
your mom is very supportive
hmm
in keeping you on, even though this happened, keeping you on a track so you could succeed and you could overcome and lead the way for your daughter too,
hmm
to be a strong, successful woman as well.
Yes, yes. And
Now,
my sister, I'm sorry, my sister as
go
well.
ahead.
My sister she was my older sister, she was very instrumental in helping me on that journey as well. She became our second parent. And once my dad passed away, she had to go to work and help. And I did a class one time on family dynamics, and I didn't realize how hard it must have been for her, to kind of put her dreams and everything she wanted on the side to help my mom make sure the bills are paid and make sure that the younger siblings have everything going on. It just was normal to me. It was my normal life. I didn't know until I took that class. It gave me a brand new respect for her and what she had to do to, help us to survive, basically, to keep going. And then I had to top it off with going to have a baby at 14 years old. And she was right there for that as well, and helped through that. So I did have a really good support system, you know, but I've had students that didn't feel as close or didn't feel like they had that type of support system. And I've kind of told them that, I feel like as human beings, we're born resilient, we've gone through a lot of things over time, and we've still managed to progress and go on. And I attribute a lot of that to God. I definitely know that He was an instrumental part in me making it through all of this. Because He gave me the mother that I have and the sister that I have. So without all of them together, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off. I feel like a strong individual, but support definitely contributed to me being able to persevere and come through this, the way I have.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned God,
Hmm.
and faith as being a big part of your strength and a big part of your journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about your faith journey?
So my mom, we went to Catholic church when we were kids, and to be quite honest, I used to fall asleep a lot. I used to fall asleep a lot as a kid in church, so I didn't really know much about God. Um, and then when all I knew that there was a God, I believed that there was a God, and I used to talk to Him because I would talk to Him about my dad, talk to Him about circumstances. But then my sister passed away at 13, my sister and my niece, due to a tragic incident. And then I really didn't want anything to do with God anymore, because my understanding of God was that, their family was dying and they were going to heaven to be with God. No one explains these things to kids. No one really gives them a backdrop on who God really is, what He means to your life, what He's done for the sacrifice that He's made for us. Um, and so my understanding was just that God was this person in heaven and He was taking my family members. That's how I saw it. And so when I had my daughter, and like I said, being in that relationship was crazy. I when as a teenager I battled with suicide and all kinds of harmful things that I was doing to myself. So when I finally did come to a knowledge of who God was, um, it's as though my life kind of flashed before me, and I could see all of the times that He's been there for me, all of the times that He's got me through these things, all of the times that, I thought I was at the end of my rope, but then something gave me hope, or something made me feel like I had something to live for. Um, and so for me, God is like, He's my source. You know, I didn't have a dad, so He's my dad. He's my father. And I just can see my life even before I accepted Him. He still loved me. Like He still was getting me through all these difficult things in life. Um, yeah, it was my experience with the Lord is very very. I won't say it's different, but I don't know a lot of people that because I went to sleep one day. I went to sleep one day after being really, really angry and upset and crying and being angry with my ex-husband. And I went to sleep one day and I had a dream, and it was my childhood best friend. And she was just saying, like, you can't stay here any longer. Like, it's time, you have to come out, and it's time. And in the dream, I didn't understand what she meant, but I woke up with an understanding. And I immediately was like, yeah, I have to go to church. I have to get my life together. I have to. And when I went to church, it's like that day he was waiting for me. He was waiting for me to get there. And when I got there, he solidified everything in my heart, and I haven't looked back since. And I just began my journey with him, and it's been awesome. It's been. I have some really powerful testimonies. Like my mom was supposed to she was given 1 year to live in 2005. And I was like, I went and I prayed. I said, God, like, I'm not ready for that. You know what I mean? Like, she's the only real parent. She's the only parent that I have. I can't, like, I'm not ready, please. And he gave her these amazing doctors and did all kinds of, they did a surgery on her heart. And at first they didn't think her heart was strong enough. And then they got her heart to where it was strong enough for the surgery, and they gave her an extra 15 years. So, so he's been amazing. He's been amazing. So, and I know that nothing that I am, I just wouldn't be where I am today without God. I think I really do. I would have lost my mind a long time ago with some of the things that have transpired, but he's been really good to me.
That's amazing. And it sounds like, you took a step of faith, saying, you know
Hmm.
what, I'm going to respond to this dream, and I'm going to go to church. I'm going to take a step of faith that God's going to meet me there, right where I'm
Hmm.
at. And he did in an amazing, amazing way. Now, along the way, things pop up, and you mentioned with your mom and her health. Are there any strategies that you use in those moments to get your mind aligned with the Lord, and to find freedom and to find healing and a way forward?
Um, so my thing is that it's not my strategy is like daily. I won't say that every single day I do this routine, but I pray a lot. I pray a lot, and I stay in the word, because when moments take place, the word pops up for me. You know what I mean? It pops up. Things can happen and it pops up into my mind or in my spirit to give me something to cling to. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so I just think that everybody talks about God not being a religion. They think God is a religion, I should say. But God is more about like a relationship, and being having time with him, and having so he can help you to grow and help you to do better and help you to see things differently, give you a change in your mindset. So when I'm like off and I'm just busy, 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 and I'm like not reading, not praying, and I'm just getting engaged in all kind of projects and doing all sorts of things, I'm a little bit off. My temper is a little different, things like that. So my take on it is that when I'm consistently staying in the presence, or reading, having some sort of contact with God throughout the day, it helps me. So even when the lady ran into me, I was just like, whoo, she ran into me. I was in pain. I was just like, oh. So my first thought was like, Lord, what is going on? So it just helps me. I had a car accident in April. The lady hit me like she slammed into me in the back, going about 50 or 60. And she got out the car like really talking. She was talking really a little bit crazy. And I said, Miss, I said, please do not do that. Like you hit me. I was minding my business here trying to go somewhere and you hit me. And I have to think sometimes like, wow, God is really doing good with me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
After I didn't go back and forth with her, she calmed down. She started to cry. She started to cry and say all the, and then I had to end up ministering to her, and telling her like, listen, we're both alive. You know what I mean? Your car had some damage, mine's have some damage. We both have insurance. I know this ain't the day we were looking for, but it could have been far worse than that because she was going really, really fast. So I just, and in those moments, I look and I be like, God really has done a number on me. He's really changed me a lot. And, some of the things that used to get to me or that would upset me, throw me off, it's just, I find that it's not worth it. It's just, and so I really, but you have to let him into your heart for real. You can't just, it just can't be surfacey. You have to really be able to penetrate into your heart and change you. So, but that's my strategy. I pray a lot. Um, I take a lot of time to think about I can't remember the scripture right now, but there's a scripture that tells you where David talks about remember it's in Psalms. He talks about remembering the things that God have done for you. And like I said, I can go back to childhood. I was a baby. We had a fire. My sister tells me we had a fire, and the fire, like my mom, for whatever reason, she had a dress on, like a house gown or something. She didn't have one underwear, so she didn't want to go down the ladder. It didn't dawn on her to just go to the drawer. She was in her bedroom, and she refused to leave out the apartment. But she was sending all the kids out through the ladder with the firemen. And the firemen would she handed me to him as a baby, and he got ready to toss me down. He didn't know that there was a baby in me. And my sister said, she was like, wait a minute, there's a baby. That's my little sister. Like, so I just think about even those moments. I'm like, I could have got tossed down to the ground. But somehow God is always like bringing me through things,
Mhm.
always bringing me through things and giving
Absolutely.
me strength.
Absolutely. And just to clarify for our listeners, you had mentioned the lady running into you. That was something that we kind of
Oh,
chatted a little bit about before I started running.
yes.
Because this was a rescheduled
Mhm.
interview because when you were scheduled, you had just visited your sister in the hospital and somebody came barreling down the hall, charging down the hall, and ran right into your knee that you had just had surgery on. And
Yeah.
so we rescheduled. So just to kind of clarify that because everybody's like, what is she talking about? Lady ran
Yes,
into
yes,
her.
yes. I'm sorry.
No,
Yes.
that's okay. But I love how you said, you find those touch points in the day to pray and you find those
Hmm.
touch points to read the Bible. And I 100% that's something he's been doing in my heart over years. I call it practicing the presence. And
Hmm.
what draws me into the presence of God and when do I feel that presence kind of withdrawing from me? And it's amazing how even, thoughts that
Hmm.
have that maybe aren't lining up with the way the Bible tells us to live or, whatever. And it doesn't even have to be like that bad. It's
Hmm.
amazing how it'll just pull a little bit. And I'm like, oh, it's not worth it.
Hmm.
It's not worth
Hmm.
it. I want the presence of God. I want that more than anything else, more than my right to be offended.
Yeah.
Even picking up an offense, like you said, with the woman that hit you with the car. Sure, you could have been offended and hit right back at her, but with the Lord and His grace and the revelation of His grace that He's poured out in your life, you were assertive and you stood up, but you released grace and you
Hmm.
had a great opportunity to minister. And
Absolutely.
stay in a positive place and practice the presence and release that to someone. And I love how you picked out just everyday real life examples, because sometimes I think we get stuck in, these ministry things, or this has to happen at an event or at
Hmm.
church time. No, it can happen on the side of the road. It can happen
Yeah.
in a hospital. We take God with us wherever we go, and I think that's something we really have to uh, allow to saturate our minds and kind of spread our brains around that. Like, we take God wherever we go,
Hmm.
everywhere
And,
we can
and
minister to the Lord. I love it.
yeah, and that's what I think true worship is.
Hmm.
Because that's why I said surfacey. Like, I don't want to be in church and I'm loving and I'm kind and I'm giving, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
then when I'm outside the church, I'm like mean as nails and just rude and all these different things.
Hmm.
Because I've experienced those type of people. You know what I'm saying? And I don't that's not who I want to be, because I want to go everywhere that I go. I want to be able to represent
Right.
Christ. I want to be able to let people know who God is and that He loves us. And but I these days I'm right after this I'm having Bible study with my son, which I'm so excited about. My kids, I love my kids, all four of them. I just feel like God gave me the best kids on earth. My son, he is three girls and a boy. And my son is he's something else. Boy. He's 20 years old. And yeah, he called me a few minutes, like just before I got on. He was like, "Mom, I already started doing my study, and I'm up." He was so excited.
Oh, that's
He was so
awesome.
excited, and I felt really really good about that. But I tell you, I tell God all the time. I be like, you know what, you did an awesome job with that kid. He really did wonderful with him. And I feel him letting me know you had a part in it too. So, like, I gave him to you, and you did what you needed to do. So, but and that's another thing that's important for us to let our young people know about who God is. I work, as you read it in my bio. I was a guidance counselor for. Well, I worked in the school system for over 20 years, but being a guidance counselor since about 2016. I'm not 2006. I became a guidance counselor, and I've watched some of our kids really, like really, really. There's like a lot of them are lost. A lot of them are lost. The generation is just it breaks your heart. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because you have some time with them, so you try to plant as many seeds as you can, hoping that once they're not around you anymore, them seeds will germinate and grow. That somebody else will come behind you and water. Um, but yeah, I used to spend, my husband will tell you, my husband, he has a lot of issues with, not a lot of issues, but he has some issues with me because I take on a lot of things. Like I take on things. Like sometimes during vacations, I'd sit here and be worried about the kids. If they're not in school, what are they out? Because some of my kids will be out there doing stuff they have no business doing. So every day I'll be like, oh my God, I hope they're okay. I'm sitting here praying, making God, please watch out for them and make sure they get back to school safely and if they're safe. So, I had to ease up on it because sometimes that puts me in a bad headspace if I start to really be worried about things. But I do. I'm very concerned about the generation we have right now. Our future leaders. I'm praying for them. I'm praying for them as well to that God will. They People have been talking about a great revival that's supposed to come, and I'm praying for this revival because we need it. We
Yeah,
need it.
God's bringing something. I'm excited. He's been
Yeah.
speaking to me a lot about that,
Yes.
about the generation and the blessing. a heritage blessing that he's releasing, and
Mm-hmm.
he's opening eyes. So I am excited to see it happen. But I get it where you see things and it can incite fear and concern. But really, do I when I think that I think, do I think that God loved them less?
Not at
No,
all.
not
Not
at
at
all.
all.
He loves
Not
them
at
more
all.
than I
Mm-mm.
ever could, because he is the source of perfect love. And I
Yep.
think that's kind of where I find my rest in that. And I know his promises, and they're true and they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see what he's going to do. But can you tell us, you do have a book out. Can you tell us a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about your book?
So the book is called Pretty Divorce, and it's just about my journey through my marriage, through my first marriage, some of the things, So interesting enough, my ex-husband just found out about the book a little while ago. And he's under the impression that I wrote a book about him, as though I wasn't a part, like I wasn't there. So, so it's my life. It's the things that I went through and the things that I experienced. He just happened to be a byproduct and a part of I mean, he was there. You know what I'm saying? So in the book, I talk about different stories. The same way, the same. That's how I speak. That's how I write. That's who I am. I make my points by giving it real life, practical situations, things that really happen. Real scenarios. And so because he was there, he's a part of the scenario. But I guess maybe he's upset because the stories are out there now. But it's my life. It happened to me. And so I wrote about it. During the pandemic, I was here, and I was looking for something else to do besides work, because working from home is way different from working in the building, especially at the school. I had no fights to run and break up. I had no lunch duty to cover. My sessions were on Zoom, and it wasn't as spicy as it was to work in the school building. So I started to, I've always wanted to write a book. I wanted me. He's only a year older than me, and in the beginning, he was an awesome dad. I mean, he was a really, really good father in the beginning, and so I thought, even with all the toxicity, I thought that we had a story. Two teenagers, that had children, stayed together, figured it out, and became, because I felt like we were, even with all of the stuff, I thought we were becoming something, that we grow out of it and we grow together somehow. Once he was gone, I really did feel like my story was over. I worked on finding my identity again without him. Who was I? You know, what am I going to do with my life now? How do I move forward? All of those things. And so I know that if I went through that, I know that there's tons of women that go through that after breakups. You even go through the process of, am I going to be able to make it? You got one income now. You got to go to court and fight for child support. You got, all these different things. So I found myself with a young lady at work, and she wrote the foreword of my book. She's one of my really good friends now, Miss Tiffany Young. Shout out to her. She wrote the foreword of my book, and she was going through a divorce, and she was going through a lot of stuff. And me and her being together 5 days a week, I was able to really pour into her and help her through. And, then I had other friends that went through different things, and I was able to give them some advice. So it just became a thing, like, you should write a book. And I was like, I always wanted to write one, but I didn't think that no one wanted to hear about me after the fact that I'm not in this relationship anymore with the children's father and all these stuff. But then it was like, no, I still have something to say. I still have a lot inside of me to help people. And then when I realized that God allows you to go through things not so you can be hurt, not so that you can, be your life can be devastated, but that He thinks you're strong enough that if I let you go through this, you'll go out there and you'll help. You go out there and you'll tell people what you went through. So once I got rid of my shame and embarrassment of the things that I did go through, I was like, forget it. If this is going to help somebody else, then I'm going to write the story. And so I wrote the story.
Awesome. So can you tell us where we can find the book?
Right now, the book is at theprettydivorce.com. My girlfriend has been telling me, you need to put it on Amazon. You need to do this. I just been busy with a lot of different projects, but I'm going to put it on Amazon. It'll be on Amazon soon, but for right now, it's at theprettydivorce.com. Yeah.
Awesome. And what else can people find on your website?
Well, there's a ton of like companion pieces to the book on there. I have a link tree in Instagram. I'm Marie.D.Mosley on Instagram. And so there's a link tree with some stuff there. And I'm working on some other stuff that I'm really excited about. I am working on a podcast. Sometime this summer, before the end of the summer, the episodes will start coming out. So, and it's called The Podcast Candy with Eminem. Me and my girlfriend Marquita. She's another author. So we'll be on YouTube, and again, I have somebody to help me with that stuff, because like I said, I've been an educator for so many years that all of this stuff is new to me. But I'm working it. And it's starting to be fun. At first, it was a little bit intimidating and scary, but now I'm starting to have fun with it, starting to, get out there a little more. So,
Awesome. It's always an adventure. I said once you start following God, you never know where you're going to end up, and it's always amazing.
hello.
But yeah,
I know.
her website, theprettydivorce.com. Check her out. Check out the book. And don't forget to swipe, tap, or click over to deborahhenne.com. Follow me on social at Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Deborah Henne Author. And let's not forget to tune into our thoughts to make sure they sound like Jesus's, so they sound like freedom. Till next time.